Hey guys, this is Vaul. It's time for another first-person audio commentary. I'd like to be doing more of these, but the problem is that it's quite hard to come across games that aren't, completely one-sided, either me getting completely beaten and playing poorly and really having nothing to commentate on, or me just wiping the floor with my opponent and the game being very boring. But I've picked this one out. It is a little bit of a one-sided game, but at least it's a first-person commentary, so I can actually put one out. I guess there are a few interesting things that go well, and I think I generally played well this game. That's why I want to talk about what's going on. The map is Othello. This is my favorite map. Othello is the map that I have the least difficulty on as Terran. It's easy to take your third base because it's quite close, even though it's quite open and open to attack. It's quite isolated in terms of surrounding terrain. And it has some cool, cool cliffs around some of the expansions, so you can do drops if you want. I don't really do that too much. I do some drops in this game because it's Terran versus Terran, but against other races I tend not to bother. But I just like this map because it's fairly straightforward. It's like Python but no islands. It's free of complications. It's got that quick third base, as I mentioned, and for that reason I quite enjoy playing on it. And I'm building my... Oh, this guy's pausing, so I just want to talk about my barracks placement while he does that. Yeah, I can't believe it. The guy pauses and I'm filming a first-person commentary. But oh well, I can't be bothered editing this part out to make that quicker. I'm sure he unpauses fairly quickly. Anyway, the reason I'm building the barracks just outside of my base is just so that I can... send out a marine a little bit quicker. So just in case he goes for that 14 command center and I scout him quickly, I've got that option of just rushing in with a bunker of my own and attacking with a bunch of SCVs to try and stop him. So that's why I've headed the bunker out, the barracks out, and of course once I've built a couple of marines from it, I'll be able to fly around with the bunker and scout with it a little bit more quickly. So that's the rationale behind building the bunker down, the barracks down there. And decided to scout up the top left location. We'll see whether that's the correct one shortly, and just trying to keep my SCV count up. This looks to be where he's got his base, so good scouting there, lucky scouting. Looks like he was going to put in a wall in, but decided not to or something, because the distance between his barracks and his supply depot wasn't quite right for putting a depot in there, a second depot in there. Although this map has a little artifact just above the ramp preventing you from walling in properly with 3 buildings, so maybe he just realized that halfway through trying to do a wall. At any rate, he's got a marine there ready to get rid of my scout, and I also need to do the same to his scout. I've got a single marine there, but he is going to see inside my base. Just running the SCV away as long as possible, just to try and annoy his marine. He's not really going to have any trouble with that though, because the marine can fit through the gap on this map between the neutral building and the side of the cliff. Of course, allowing small size units to go around and protect you from any dropped tanks or anything. Anyway, I've gotten rid of his scout, so I've decided not to build any more marines. Usually in this matchup I would build like 3 or 4 marines so I can push out with 1 vulture, but that's not my plan this game. My plan is just to demonstrate here this very, very standard Terran versus Terran build on this map, which is to go for 1 factory into 1 starport, and that's really the most common and most sensible build on this map, just so that you can take advantage of the cliff behind your opponent's natural and drop tanks there, or go for a fast wraith with cloaking. So that's the very typical thing to do on this map. I've decided to play it safe, just because I'm practicing at the moment. I want to play a very standard game, and I want to see how my opponent reacts to this particular build, and whether he does exactly the same thing as me but better, or whether he does something else and this build turns out to be the superior build for the map. We'll find out. And in the meantime, just trying to keep my SCV production up. One thing that keeps me back as a player sometimes is that I forget to build SCVs, and I wonder why my macro management just falters later on. It's just because you've got to keep up a steady supply of SCVs pretty much throughout the entire game until such point that you've just got a huge amount of supply, like 150 or something, or your multitasking is so strained that you desperately need to build units or spend your time micromanaging out in the field. That's the only time where I would delay the production of any SCVs. But as it is, I've got my starboard up, I've got my control tower up. My barracks, very fortunately, because I'd scouted him early and I lifted off the barracks and it was close to his base, I've managed to float my barracks over his base, and I've seen that he's going for that quick armory. So he's worried about me attacking him with air. Also, I noticed that he's expanded much quicker than I have, so I'm going to have to do a good job harassing him, because his economy is going to be ahead of mine if I leave him alone for too long. But because he's gone for that quick armory, I've decided not to go for a single Wraith as I would normally do when I go with the one starport build. Instead, I've gone for a very quick dropship, and I want to head around my tanks and drop them on this cliff where he's building that engineering base. So he's wanting to get the engineering bay up to put turrets there to prevent me from doing this particular tactic. So I'd like to get my tanks in there as soon as possible, obviously. Adding a second factory as well, getting my expansion in. So hopefully this harassment will even up the economy so that I'm not too far behind. I'm only just getting my expansion up and running now. I've only got the single tank to defend, so if he was to attack me with all of his units right now, he probably would be able to break through, but this little attack should keep him in his space. I've got a single Wraith being produced. It's always handy to have that race. What I've decided to do with it is just to attack that flying barracks heading over to my base. Sitting with my tanks now and shelling his SCVs, so hopefully this will do enough damage to set him back. And he's got a tank there sieged up to attack my tanks. Now, I've made a mistake at this point, which isn't a very, very obvious mistake. It's a bit subtle, and that is that I haven't actually got my tanks positioned correctly. What you really want to do is get them as far away from the cliff as possible, right at the back, to prevent him from getting his tanks in range to shell you back, and that way you can hit his SCVs without being shot back at, unless he actually moves his tank right to the edge of the cliff, and you've got a small window of opportunity to get a couple of shots off on his tanks while he's doing that. So just for